I mean, we took a lot of time off, not to make the album, but for ourselves, and then we just went in and did it like normal, you know. But if you sit around biting your nails for years on end, I think you really could blow it. But it's not as if this Kick was our first album. We had to follow it up, otherwise we'd disappear, you know. I mean, no, we do it for ourselves, you know. It's great if people like it. That's great. I mean, honestly.
In the garages in the suburbs of Sydney, and we just we were going to, you know, similar schools around the area, and Andrew, myself, and Gary had started, you know, mucking around with music, and Tim and Kirk, and then Johnny jumped in. Johnny was we pulled him out of high school, basically.
Yeah.
And started playing, and we just played the beaches, and we played the suburbs, and we went down to Melbourne, and, you know, so on and so forth. And
basically, we were the same age as our fans when we started.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Tim, you're one of 3 brothers in the band, is that right?
That's right.
Does that make things difficult? I mean, growing up with the other guys and playing on stage with them as well.
Well, kind of, but because there's 3 other guys in the band, it's all kind of relative or the same after a while. You know, we've all really grown up together now. We've been together for 8, 9 years or something. So for that reason, it's like, you know, it's not just growing up with my 2 brothers and being in the band. It's like everyone's, you know.
It's all the same anyway.
Yeah.
You've already had all your arguments when you're kids.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. I mean, we used to laugh as we
Already
punched
bashed
each
each
other.
Surf Lifesaving Club.
Yeah, like a bunch of surfies. We'd sell
Very
T-shirts
strange.
and peroxide, you know, and like,
Sure.
and they'd all be really drunk. You
Yeah.
know? But it really was a sort of
It was great.
kind of a bizarre, a sort of, I don't know, side of things to come from, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when we first started, we used to arrange all of those gigs ourselves, you know. They used to have there's a beach called Bugola.
Yeah.
We used to play there once a week, and it was called the Bugola Bop, you know. And it's sort of infamous all over Sydney, you know, because
People just come from miles around. I mean, it's a long way to get there, too.
yeah, you used to end up in some really decadent kind of, you know, sort of orgy of you name it, you know. And it was really fun, you know. And a lot of that sort of thing now is sort of slowly disappearing, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think bands abstain to think themselves too precious, maybe, or something. I don't know.
That's being in a band, you know. If we went out and hired people, it'd be a different thing altogether, you know. But being in a band, that's the interaction, that's the process of it, you know. It's that people saying no, I don't think so, and you saying yes, or vice versa.
Well, that's why we do solo projects as well outside the group, because, for example, Gary, the bass player in the band, as Michael and I are sitting here now, has a top 10 record with his friends, Absent Friends, this band that they've formed over there. You know, in terms of, you know, success, or do I get this or do I do that, that's where the individual thing is very important for people, so they don't feel stifled, you know.
Yeah,
people should be able to do whatever they want to do in the band, you know.
Give the band a lot of confidence when we got back together, because everybody feels good about their own ideas, and like, you know, it's almost like putting the band back together again, musically speaking. We've always been together, or you will be for a long time too. But you know, it was great to go away and not be under each other's influence. We've always been under each other's influence. You know, hey, listen to this, do that. You know, and this time we came back and said, "You've been listening to what?" You know,
Yeah,
I never heard that. You know?
Exactly. I mean, really, I suppose the concept that we're really heading towards in the future is, you know, is more like a travelling Wilburys thing, where we each, you know, perhaps have individual pursuits musically, but it's a band, you know. When I think back to those days, you know, I don't grab a, you know, you didn't really eat a sausage and grab your surfboard and go jump in the water. I mean, a lot of it was really, you know, a lot of it was inside, in surf clubs that were organised by surfing fraternity people who were very open-minded at the time, I think, and they'd put on these shows for kids locally, and they wouldn't rip everyone off. They just put them on and give kids something to do besides causing trouble in the streets or whatever. And we happened to be there and play.
It has its problems like anywhere else. One of the main ones is that the gigs are disappearing. The great Aussie pub scene is slowly being eroded away by laws, you know, fire laws and things like that, which is a pity. That's going to change it a lot, and it has. So now you're starting to get bands that are just picked out of nowhere that give them probably too much money with too little talent, and you know, away they go. But I think it's still very healthy. You know, there's still A lot of music, a lot of bands. You can go out and see so many bands on the weekend. It's like half Australia is in a band or something.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's very, very supportive of its own music there. Well, not just because I think it's from Australia, but it seems to mean a lot more to the Australian people, perhaps, than
It's
in other
yeah,
places.
it's kind of a lifestyle.
Mm.
You know, you don't say what are you doing today. You say which band you're going to see.
We were always sort of struggling for a style for quite a few years. I think we finally got some idea that funk and rock mixed together. We did it pretty well, and we've always stuck pretty close to that line of thinking and playing. It used to be someone cool for a rock band to do anything but sort of be a little bit goth, and it was very dark, and we've had our dark moments, but we've always cut through with being a rock band that you could dance to, I suppose.
I like checking out other acts, not just to see what they do or whatever from a music business point of view, because I'm a fan of some of these people too. I like going along getting entertained. But secondly, I'd like to say also I did some shows with Jenny Morris, her guitarist got ill, so he went back to Australia and she called me and said, would you come and help me play? And I said, sure, because I knew a lot of the material. So I jumped on a plane, flew over, I don't think I've still got over the jet lag, and then played with her in Germany and France on the Prince tour. And that was really interesting to play as a support act for a major act like that and watch it from a completely different point of view. And it was also interesting for me personally, not having been on stage for a long while, to see the whole touring thing on that scale, as we will probably be doing. So I had a very interesting perspective of things. You got to see it from all angles to understand how to give your audience the best.
A lot of the money you don't see, which is a pity. It's not even on stage. Yeah, we're not sort of the type of band that have choreographers and costume changes and do all that sort of thing. We hopefully are just 6 people on stage, and it's a very straightforward situation, which people don't really get to see that often anymore. We spend most of our money on the sound and making sure it sounds really good, and then hopefully everything works around us. It's not a show that's set out. It's not rehearsed, So we actually have a lighting guy who can really be on his toes, and follow us around, I suppose we have to take in consideration. Yeah, there's a lot of musicians in the band, especially Kirk, who plays guitar and sings and plays sax. So sometimes I guess we'll get to a point and go, Kirk can do a sax solo there, Basically, we get together and Andrew writes a lot of stuff. I don't write as much stuff, and we'll say, well, that sounds good, and I think these lyrics will go with that, and it's a lot of, you got to beat stuff out. Basically, it's a lot of work, really. We get it right, and we do a lot of arranging, and then we try and keep it fresh in the studio. Do it quickly.
There's some tears and laughter. That's a formula, I suppose. You really, it's writing is a personal thing. It's as anyone who's written novels or anything. Journalists would know, try and put a story together or whatever.
It's satisfying. I mean, it'd be a lot of work because you're trying to achieve something, you're trying to get something new, and you twist on something, and then when it works, it's really satisfying. It's the best moment, really. I mean, it's a very hard thing to obtain. Actually, it can be very hard, like you say, very hard to obtain. But I don't know. I think we do that. I mean, we know how to knock each other down, Not to so much hurt each other up too.
Yeah, not so much to hurt each other's feelings, just to put things into a realistic perspective. But friends and family definitely do that to you. I mean, nothing brings you to earth more quickly than people you know well.
You got to realize, I mean, we've been around for a little while now, and we've always made albums. We're going to keep on making albums, and it was fantastic success. We have a kick, and I hope we don't go backwards, I suppose. But you got to be. You got to keep your sense of humor up about it too. We had no idea what Kick was going to do when we finished it. When we put it out and did really well. So hopefully this one people will like as well. Yeah.
So after a long break away from each other, and you guys are obviously good friends, you've been together, and you've also played together for a long time. What was the catalyst that brought you together to make this album then? I mean, how did you find each other? I mean, it was did two of you meet in a bar and say, should we start again, or what?
It was a little bit like that. In fact, I remember the first day we all had decided to meet somewhere and get together at, I think, at a restaurant, and it was hi, how are you? Good, fine, thanks. And it was a little tense, I think, at first, and then it's okay. I mean, you know, we're good friends. You know, and plus, there's something to be said for playing with people musically for a long time, because you know their style as a player. And when you play with other people who you don't know, it's interesting, and it's a knowledge thing, because you absorb their style, and you have to learn how to play to that style. But to play with the NXS style, to me, is great, because I know exactly what the other guys are playing, you know, all the time, and it's great fun to play in NXS.
Well, first off, when we had a bit of time off from each other, you know, we stopped touring. We've been touring for about 2 years before that, so we had a bit of time off, got a life, you know. And I got together with a friend, Ollie Olsen, and made an album called Max Q. And what else have we been doing? Oh, I did a little bit part, a couple of minutes in a Roger Corman film called Frankenstein Unbound. It's kind of strange. It's I guess it's a bit like Back to the Future, but with Frankenstein monsters and things like that. It'll be funny. Andrew was playing a lot with harmonica, and we were writing stuff, and then I think, well, Charlie Musselwhite was in town, and he came in, and we said, look, we were sort of playing like this, but can you do something? And he put down some fantastic tracks for us. So, it's a great instrument. It's great to hear a real raw human touch on an album, I think.
We have basically 2 or 3 take recordings on most of the recordings, where they're very fresh, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun playing them live.
We record them like that, you know.
Yeah.
We just go in the studio, put some mics up, and just play, you know, get it down. So hopefully it sounds like that.
Actually, I've been thinking of maybe, because, you know, I'm going to have to do a lot of this harmonica stuff that Charlie's done, and I'm a little nervous about that, because Charlie's so good. But I'm actually thinking maybe I might even ring him up and say, what are you doing? You know, because, he's a great player, which would be fun. I like playing with other people these days too, as well as a band. You know, it's interesting.